Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel. In this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. And first we're going to start with Vladimir Putin. As you know, today is the birthday of the President of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. And maybe this is the reason why the Russians launched their offensive operation exactly at this day. They tried to show good results for the president on the ground as a present for his birthday. Now we're moving to Kupiansk direction, and we still haven't received anything from this direction. There were no geolocated videos, but a lot of text messages and a lot of text updates. First update is coming from the area of Sinkovka, and according to information we have, according to the sources on the ground, the Ukrainians during the previous night of Ukrainian defense operation, lost 2 tanks, 4 personal armored carriers or vehicles, including 1 Bradley, and up to 1 campaign of soldiers. The Russians managed to advance for another 6 kilometers till Kupiansk, so there are just 6 kilometers to the city. And furthermore, the Russians reported that Sinkovka was reduced completely to ruins and that Ukrainians were forced to step back from the forest in the vicinity of Liman I. Furthermore, the Russians managed to move closer to Petropavlovka for another 2 kilometers, and there are just 1.5 kilometers left. So according to that information, the Sinkovka was completely destroyed as a result of artillery fire, as a result of clashes in this city. So the Russians are moving inside this area. The Russians are trying to develop their offensive operation along Oskol River in the direction of Liman I forest in this area to get as close as possible to Kupiansk. The next waves of attacks took place in direction of Petropavlovka, and according to information we have, there are just 1.5 kilometers left and the Russians will be able to enter the city. So this is the first movement, this is the first direction of Russian attack. Other sources reported that as a result of clashes during the previous night, the Russians also advanced in the vicinity of Ivanovka and Kotlarovka area. Currently, the situation is calm and the Russians are trying to dig in deeper and to secure their new positions in this area. So this attack are taking place from Orlyanka in direction of Stepovo Novoselka, with the purpose to get and to cut the supply road N26 between Kupiansk, Petropavlovka and Berestovo, Kotlarovo, Kislovka area. So there are very heavy clashes, but yet we haven't received anything. We have received nothing about when talking about geolocations and so on. When talking about Liman area, we haven't received anything during the previous night. And now we're moving to Berestovo and Soledar direction. According to information we have, the Russians have activated their offensive operation in this area as well. Also very massive and powerful attack. The sources and at least 2 different mappers have already updated their maps, showing some progress of the Russians exactly in the vicinity of Berestovo, to be more precise, in the fields between Berestovo, Belogorovka and Veselo. So the Russians are moving in direction of the fields along the railways, trying to encircle and trying to establish control first of all over this village by the name of Veselo. And if you remember, a few weeks ago we have already received an update that Wagners have entered the city or the village or something like this. The only video we have from this direction is the not geolocated even video, but the Russian author of this video claims that the Russians are moving along the railways, as we discussed in the previous videos, that if the Russians are going to attack in this direction, obviously they're going to use the railways that were under very heavy bombing, that have been under very heavy bombing since the, let's say, the beginning of this autumn. If we increase the number of dates, let's say from the beginning of September, we're gonna see the Russian focus along the railways and how the Russians were trying to clear the passage. The most important fortification took place on the north of Vyimka and on the south of Vyimka and the north of Veselo. That was obviously reduced to ruins, and currently the Russians are trying to move along the railways and they're clearing trenches by trenches. And this is the most secured area and there is no need to cross fields. You can complete this mission just using infantry, so it's not like I'm not surprised about the Russian decision to move along the railways. The only another geolocated video we got from the city village by the name of Sporne. On this video, just regular activity, the Russian FPV drone attack against the Ukrainian trenches, Ukrainian positions somewhere in the vicinity of the city. So nothing special, like nothing happening there and so on. Some updates are coming from the northern flank of Bakhmut. Today the Russians published the video how they're using FPV drone attack the Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of Zheleznyatskaya. We're using this video just to clarify the combat position, the combat line, and to clarify where is exactly located Ukrainian edge positions and where exactly located the Russian edge positions. And if we take a look at this a map, this is like Zheleznyatska is under Russian control, and the closest Ukrainian positions are located on this corner of this tree line. So this is the situation. When talking about Klishchevka area, we have received nothing from this direction as well, just one geolocation, how the Ukrainian reconnaissance and sabotage teams were moving along the city, along the ruins of the city. The Russians controlled the entire situation, and after that, after they discovered the Ukrainian forces, they started bombing and attacking them with artillery. So nothing special in this direction as well. Very interesting updates are coming from Avdiivka. Very interesting updates. Today the Ukrainians published a series of videos how they were bombing and attacking the Russian forces in the trenches, in the strongholds, in the shelters, all over the Avdiivka front line. Significant number of FPV drone strikes, of artillery strikes. You may ask what is so special in these videos. I must say that this is not the first video that Ukrainians published from this area during the previous few days. For example, another video we got from Krasnogorovka area. From one side, we're using this video to clarify the Russian edge positions on the northern flank of Avdiivka, but from the other side, we see the real Ukrainian activity that they're trying to publish. They're publishing a lot of videos from this direction, which means some kind of concentration of forces, or at least to attempt not to allow the Russians to concentrate their forces. If we increase the number of updates from the 1st of October, this will give us a better understanding of the situation. So we see, for example, from the same direction, yesterday we saw how the Ukrainians using HIMARS missile destroyed the concentration of Russian forces in the vicinity of Bitmanova, also from Avdiivka direction. Also those days we got a lot of updates from the southern part of Avdiivka of significant number of FPV drone strikes against the Russian positions along the ring road that goes between Avdiivka and Donetsk, which also confirms the Ukrainian activity and Ukrainian attempt to reduce the Russian forces. When talking about the Russians, we see, according to the configuration of their fire, of their strike, we see the main Russian focus according to this area. And as we see, the Russians currently are trying to suppress and to destroy the Ukrainian positions on the along this, let's say, white cloud. This is their main focus. And obviously, this means that this focus, this main Russian artillery and FPV drone focus can mean just one thing: that the Russians are trying to secure the line, to secure the area before the next attempt to attack from Vadiana in direction of Orlovka. So obviously this is exactly what is going to happen, and this is the reason why the Ukrainians from their side try to concentrate their focus, let's say, on the base of this attack, and probably this is the area of Russian concentration of forces before the next attempt to attack to the north in direction of Orlovka. And I remind you that a few days ago we got an update that some squads of stormtroopers of Wagner group were redeployed in this area. So at least puzzle for me is getting is up to be completed. And now we're moving further to South Donetsk direction. We got some updates from this territory as well. The Russians continue bombing Novomykhailivka, yet the Russians haven't started any offensive operation. Currently, as we discussed a few days ago, they lost a significant number of demining equipment, of distance method demining equipment. Probably the Russians expect to get new few more armored vehicles of this type, and after that they will start probably the storming of the city. So I expect anyway this week the beginning of the Russian operation in this direction as well. The Russians also published the video how they managed to discover the Ukrainian artillery system, and as a result of strikes, artillery duels, the Ukrainian artillery system was destroyed. The artillery system that the Ukrainians were using to support their forces and to slow down the Russians in the vicinity of Novomykhailivka, to be more precise, in the area of Zverinets fortification and in the vicinity of Stepny and Solodar, the cities, the towns, villages that located on the south of Novomykhailivka. When talking about Remivka tactical bridgehead, there were no changes. We haven't received nothing during the previous night. Just one video of clarification if Ukrainian Ukrainian positions on the north of Pryutine. A lot of sources are saying that currently the Russians are storming Pryutine and that the Russians advancing to the north, but we got just one geolocation that confirms that even if there were some movements and progress from the Russian side, that progress was too small, and basically the Russians just were trying to maintain the gray zone and to get as close as possible to the Ukrainian positions. Nothing more, as I understand. When talking about Zaporizhzhia Robotina area, Bradley Square, we haven't received anything from this direction. The Ukrainians completely collapsed, they completely stopped and took a decision not to do anything. And the Ukrainians, to excuse their stop, published the video or photo of Russian fortifications in this area. So every single line, every single square kilometer in this area was turned from the just agricultural ground to very heavy and powerful fortification. The Ukrainians have already captured, let's say, 100 fortifications, let's say just like soft number, just to compare, and they need to capture more 200 or 300 of shelters and fortifications before they're able to get the city by the name of Очеретувати. So this city. So the Ukrainians realized that this operation is useless and probably even stupid. And so that's why they stopped offensive and currently try to dig in deeper and to try to get prepared before the Russian counter-offensive operation. When talking about Kherson area, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions in the city. And this is very interesting because the Russians have intensified the number of strikes against the Ukrainian positions in Kherson, in the capital of this region. During even 3 and 4 months ago, there were very low number of such videos from this area, and currently almost every single day we get another video from this area. The Russians continue bombing Dachi. Of course, the Ukrainians had significant losses in the islands, in Dachi, in all over the Dnieper River, so that's why they need to evacuate wounded soldiers. Wounded soldiers have their hospitals inside of Kherson, and the Russians just destroy the positions and concentration, knowing when they know this information. And there was explosions in the city by the name of Novomykhailivka. A very interesting video we got from Nikolaev city. The Russians, in a very long distance, up to 40 kilometers, managed to discover the Ukrainian radar, and as a result of probably Krasnopol strike or something like this, or maybe like missile strike, but something very long range, but not probably missile, I don't know. As a result of the strike, the Ukrainians lost another radar somewhere in this area. So, another day, 7th of October, the birthday of the President of Russian Federation. Obviously, the Ukrainians will try to give some present to Putin as well. I believe they have already prepared everything they need, but we just need to wait and see what is going to be. But obviously, this day, we will remember forever. And that's it for today. Military Summer channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.